So
Yeah, I think that.
I will tell you 5, 4, 3, 2, let's go.
Thank you. Good morning, colleagues. I'm very pleased to see you all. I'm in many familiar places across NEAR region. And so now we are going to focus, the aim of the meeting is just to focus a little bit on how the implementation of the Gender Action Plan 3 it's doing in each of the country. It's a little bit to discuss on that. I mean, about the progress that has been made at 1 year of implementation, but also to discuss about the challenges that you are facing, in particular in relation with the country level implementation plans. And we will also have a couple of presentations from headquarter colleagues. So please do ask questions, I mean, by taking the floor or using, I mean, the chat bots whenever, I mean, you want to, I mean, you have any issue, I mean, to discuss. And I just would like to start by letting you know that that IMPA, I mean, in the past, we used to have like a detailed report on the implementation per DG. So we used to publish, I mean, this general data on how we were progressing. But unfortunately, I mean, last year, I mean, for 2021, we don't have many disaggregated data per DG for many of the indicators. So for this reason, I'm just going to provide a few data, but also the data that we have is not consolidated yet. I mean, in the last trimester, I think that around probably October, and not September, October, I mean, the GATT report, the implementation of the GATT report for the institutional pillar, let's say it will be published. It will be included, I mean, in the European Union annual activity report. So there you will find, I mean, general information, but it's for the whole EU because it also, I mean, the member states, they will report, and then it's IMPA, I mean, ECHO, FPI, other DGs, they are reporting as well. So maybe you will get there general information, and it's quite short. I saw a draft. So I hope that maybe we have like annexes that we will get more detailed information, but in the future, I mean, the idea is to have more disaggregated data, I mean, on the implementation per DG that will really help us, I mean, to identify, I mean, all the gaps and where we need to act upon. No, so last year, I mean, in 2021, we focused really on the development on the country level implementation plans by all the DGs, integrating, I mean, the priorities and also the objectives in all the programming, being bilateral and also in the regional funds. And I would like to acknowledge, I mean, your role as gender focal points that has been really essential in this regard, because you have really ensured, I mean, the coordination and the consultations with the member states, with the key stakeholders, I mean, the national authorities in the country, international institutions, civil society, including women's rights organizations, within a very limited time period. So I would really like to thank you, I mean, for the efforts that you have done in this regard. Also, most of the delegations, you have equipped yourself, I mean, with an updated gender analysis at country level. And also we have many sector-specific gender analysis. I mean, this is also growing because this is also a requirement under the new Gender Action Plan 3. I mean, we had seen that, for example, the incorporation of gender responsive budgeting component in the PFN, this has been, I mean, increased as well. And we are paying also most attention when we are doing gender mainstreaming in the new sectors that they were identified, and also in blending. And Milagros will present, I mean, the work that NEAR is doing, I mean, in this regard. No, so regarding, I mean, the target, the main target that we have of the 85% of all the external actions targeting gender equality being significant or a principal objective, I mean, the data that we have, this is not consolidated. I mean, the latest data that we have for NEAR is like we are like around 75%. So we had seen, if we compare with the previous year, we see that it has been a big increase, but also INPA informed us that we cannot compare anymore, I mean, with the previous year, because now we are counting, I mean, actions that they were not included in CRIS. So we need to take also this into account, because last year for the data that we have, we were like more than 50%, 55%, and now we are like 75, but we have new actions that had been included that they were not in the past. So it's not comparable anymore from the previous year. So we have that for the future. I mean, we can compare in order to see, I mean, also how we are working in that regard. You know that also we have this target that at least 5% of the actions need to target, I mean, gender equality. So we need to have G2 actions. And in this regard, with the data that is available, now we are like around 4%. So we had seen that, for example, in most of the clips, I mean, they were mentioning, I mean, the G2 actions that they will take place, or they were taking place, I mean, in the countries. So this is quite positive, I mean, in this regard. And just to mention you, if you attended in the previous session, I mean, Alan, my head of unit, I mean, he mentioned that from September, I mean, INPA, we will have in place, I mean, this new technical assistance that is called the Knowledge Hub. There is one specific that deals with issues of human rights, I mean, gender equality, disability. So, and we are contributing, I mean, near with 15% of the funds, of the total cost of the hub. So it will be possible, I mean, to receive, I mean, some technical assistance. And for example, in the past, I mean, we have some delegations, they had benefited, I mean, by trainings on human rights-based approach and gender mainstreaming. So this, for example, could be done, I mean, as well in the future. I mean, supporting, I mean, for example, in the complying with the programming documents on how to mainstream gender. So I suggest you that when you have a need in this regard, to contact first NEAR, the request, I mean, the support that you would like to provide in order to be a study first, because as I mentioned, I mean, we are contributing only 15% of the funds. So we need also to prioritize to see, depending on the number of requests that they are received, I mean, how we are going to, in order to be able not to, that as many requests as possible are attended. And just to briefly, I mean, finish, I mean, with that we have seen one of the main challenges that we are still facing is that we really need to ensure, I mean, the quality of gender mainstreaming. I mean, in order to make a difference, it is true that we've seen that the target, I mean, we have an increase on G1 and G2 actions. It is mainly G1 because G2 is quite clear, but we have many issues when we are scoring a G1 action, because we really need to, the action needs to be based on a gender analysis, on a data gender analysis, and the ideal situation in accordance, I mean, with the OECD criteria is that at least we have like a gender objective, no? The actions should have at least a gender objective. So we need to ensure, I mean, that the quality of gender mainstreaming, I mean, it is really embedded, I mean, into the action. And in this regard, I mean, we need to continue raising awareness and building the capacities, I mean, on the college in order to ensure, I mean, a good use of the gender analysis, ensuring, I mean, the high quality and the correct use of the marker. So I just would like to pass the floor, I mean, now to my colleague Lina, so she can present, I mean, herself, and also she can add, I mean, and complement. And then Chloe, I mean, my team leader, she will continue with the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Olga. And my name is Lina Nilsson, and I'm the gender focal point for the East, the Eastern Partnership. And I'm happy to see many colleagues here from delegations. And I just want to echo Olga, I mean, your crucial role in preparing all these clips and now start the implementation. I'm really looking forward to listen to all your experiences, and I'm sure we can learn a lot from each other to see how we can improve this. I think, I mean, now it's really, I mean, preparing the clip is one thing and it's hard work, but now keeping it alive and really make it a document that we work for implementing and promoting gender equality. So I will not speak any longer. Let's continue with Chloe to see what we will also discuss more today. Thank you.
Thank you, Lina. Thank you, Olga. Good morning, everyone. I'm Chloe Lawrence Tinsdale. I'm the team leader for Human Rights and Civil Society. You probably heard this if you were in the previous session, chaired by Alan Jones, my head of unit. Before starting, I'd just like to say a big thanks to Lina and Olga for organizing this this session, and also particularly to Olga and my team. I mean, I know we're losing both Lina and Olga in the near future. Lina a bit later, I think in the autumn, but Olga, it's actually her last days. These days are her last days in the unit, and she will be leaving a very big gap, just to have a play on words with the gender action plan in the team. And I would like to thank her also for all her work throughout the years. So big thumbs up to Olga and Lina. So just to go through a bit the agenda for today's session. So you've had an introduction. Then we will now have a presentation by Mr. Adrien Bourgeois of the TAIEX instrument. Adrien is a project assistant in the institution building unit of DG NEAR, so that's unit C3. This unit is in charge of the implementation of the TAIEX instrument, and Mr. Bourgeois is actually part of the Justice and Home Affairs team, which coordinates the organization of TAIEX events on different topics: rule of law, justice, migration, human and fundamental rights, and particularly gender equality. That's of relevance for you today. This presentation is meant to promote the TAIEX instrument and remind all colleagues in delegations that this instrument can support and finance actions and events related to the key priorities on the agenda of the EU. Following Mr. Bourgeois' presentation, we will have a presentation by Milagros Jimenez Sanchez, working in NEAR A5, the unit in charge of international financial institutions and investments. Ms. Milagros Jimenez Sanchez deals with budgetary guarantees, and she's also the focal point for the EBRD and sustainable finance. And as of relevance for this panel, she's responsible for gender equality and human rights under EFSD+. So the topic of her presentation will be about engendering EFSD+ interventions and providing a state of play. This will be followed by presentations from you, EUD colleagues, for gender focal points, where each colleague, well, nine colleagues have agreed to take the floor to exchange on the monitoring and reporting on the country level implementation plans, or the CLIPs, on the ground. This short presentation should cover what has been done already, what are the challenges that you encountered, and the way forward. And the session will be concluded with a question and answer session. So if you allow me, without further ado, I will pass the floor to Adrien. Adrien, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I will just try to share my presentation if I manage. So, can you see it?
Not yet.
No,
Not
not
yet.
yet.
Okay.
Press on share screen and then select, and then at the bottom,
Yes,
share.
at the bottom.
Yeah. Just.
I can try it. That is.
Yeah, I think because normally it works,
Okay,
but
let
right
me
now I
see.
think there's a problem.
Okay, let me find your. I make it to presentation because I have it here before. Okay. is this one. Can you see it now?
Yes, it's starting.
Okay, okay. I'm going to put it bigger screen.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez.
I don't know why it's downloading something and it's taking a little bit of time. Well, still downloading. That's why I have this. I don't know.
Do you want me to try?
Do you have it? I can send it to you, but I don't know why.
Can you please try canceling the download?
I try to cancel, but it's not. It's, you know, sometimes because now it's.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Yeah,
It's
it
I
seems
don't
that
have the
it's.
presentation, I'm afraid. Did you save it on?
I just.
Okay.
No, I just send it to you, but I think that it's okay. I think that it's good now. Yeah. Okay, you can go ahead. Okay, thank you.
Olga, you need to minimize the participants list so that you not see this black. There's a black box on the side. That's your participants list. You need to. Voila, perfect.
Okay.
Okay. Do you hear me well?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. So, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to speak today at this forum. So, my name is Adrien Bourgeois. I'm a project officer at the institution building unit of DG NEAR, and my unit is in charge of the implementation of the TAIEX and Twining instruments. So, on the next slide, you will see that I will explain you during this presentation what is the TAIEX instruments, how you can benefit it, how it works, what are its objectives. Then I will shortly explain how to apply for TAIEX assistance, and then I'll finish with some examples of TAIEX events related to gender equality because it's the topic at hand today. So TAIEX, in brief, it means the technical assistance and information exchange. So it's an instrument steered by the European Commission. It offers peer-to-peer technical assistance and policy support from public experts in the EU member states to public sectors beneficiaries in the enlargement and neighborhood regions. So TAIEX is funded from the EU budget. It's implemented by my unit, as I said, in DG NEAR. It offers a short-term assistance to central government administration in countries covered by the enlargement policy, so the Western Balkans and Turkey, and the European Neighborhood Policy, so the Eastern Partnership and Southern Neighborhood countries. TAIEX is also valuable to countries covered by the development policies and the partnership instrument worldwide, as well as EU member states to support structural reforms, regional and environment policies. As for the main aim of TAIEX assistance, it is to support these countries in the approximation, the application, and the enforcement of the EU acquis and the EU standards and best practice on many policy areas such as gender, human rights, democracy. And most of the time, TAIEX assistance is targeted to public or semi-public sector bodies such as national or local administration, parliaments, or representatives of trade unions, etc. To give you an idea, on the next slide, you have the figures of TAIEX for some figures about TAIEX in 2021. But every year, TAIEX responds to 1,100 requests for assistance, and on average, around 3,000 EU member states experts are mobilized by TAIEX every year to reach more than 22 public official beneficiaries. Also, to give you another view on my unit, so on the next slide, you'll see that my unit is divided in different teams because we're working all on different policy areas to when it comes to the enlargement and the neighborhood countries. So you have a team on digital and green transition, you have a team on agriculture and food safety, and also a team on the internal market. I myself are part of the rule of law and resilience and security team, and my colleagues and I are in charge of implementing events regarding gender equality, but also fundamental rights, amongst other things. In the next slide, you will also see that TAIEX assistance can be divided into two, and also you have different kind of events with TAIEX. So TAIEX beneficiaries in the third countries that are included in the geographical scope of the instrument can ask for TAIEX assistance via a simple online form. That's what we call the TAIEX standards request. So in this case, the TAIEX team will implement different kind of events according to their policy area. We have 4 types of events with the TAIEX assistance. So first of all, we have workshops. So workshop can be organized in a beneficiary country or in an EU member states. They can be in person, online, or in an hybrid format. And they can target a single beneficiary or multiple beneficiaries. And the idea with workshop is to mobilize often more than one expert in from more than one EU member states for a workshop that should last 1 to 2 days, depending on the needs. And the roles of the experts during this workshop consist in delivering guidance to the beneficiaries on different topics and to advise a large audience, because normally workshops are for more than 30 participants. Then we have expert missions. So expert mission mobilize 1, 2, or more EU member states experts, and they go on a mission to a beneficiary for usually up to 5 days. Normally they are targeted for one beneficiary, so for one country, and they are most of the time in person in a single location, but they can also be adapted, and it is possible, depending on the agenda, for experts to visit different locations in more than one beneficiary. This assistance can be provided either in hybrid or online format or in person as well. Then on the next slide, you'll see that we also provide study visits. So basically, study visits are events where beneficiaries from a beneficiary country are visiting an EU member states institutions or administration for a maximum of 5 days. These study visits are normally for a single beneficiary, so they're targeting one beneficiary who should go to one EU member states, but also exception can be foreseen depending on the needs. And the standard numbers of participants on study visits is up to 5 per beneficiary, but also exception can also be possible. And then the last type of event are work from home. So work from home is basically when a case handler, just like myself, will request the expertise of an expert to carry out a specific task from home. For example, it can be providing comments on a draft legislation for example, in one of the Western Balkan countries. But as I told you, we have TAIEX standard assistance when it's requested by the beneficiary, so by third countries. But since 2018, TAIEX can also be requested by EU bodies, so EU delegation, agencies, or EU Commission, or the Commission DGs or services. So that's what we call strategic requests. In this case, TAIEX rules are usually more flexible because strategic events are implemented in order to tackle targeted priorities or to support specific priority actions. So, for example, they can be used to support action related to the Gender Action Plan, as we are talking about it today. And in that case, you simply need to fill in an application form where you explain the context, the justification of the request, the form of assistance that you want, the potential dates and the topics to address, and the contact details of a contact person for the organization of this event in the EU delegation, in the Commission services, or in the agency that is requesting TAIEX assistance. So I warmly invite you to use this TAIEX strategic assistance, because it can help you to implement, as I said, the Gender Action Plan directly at the level of the delegation, because you can request TAIEX assistance online and you don't need to program it beforehand, and it can be requested anytime. Also, for your information, I would just like to remind you that you have dedicated TAIEX contact points in delegation to help you in requesting TAIEX assistance or in designing TAIEX events. So in the next slide, you'll see, I will explain briefly how to request TAIEX assistance. So basically, it's very simple. You just need to go on the website of TAIEX and click on the TAIEX online application form. You enter your email address, and then you choose the type of TAIEX assistance that you want to request. So as I said, for delegations or ES in general, it's TAIEX strategic. And then you describe everything that is requested on the content and the topic that you want to cover with this event. But then if the request is standard or classic, it's you have different forms to fill in depending on the geographical area and the topic that you want to address. In the next slide, you will see the key information that you need to implement to fill in the application form. So the objective of the request, the main topics, the current situation, and as I told you, the contact person details. Once we receive this request online, we launch a consultation process with all the relevant stakeholders. So the DG, the country units in DGNIR, the EU delegation, the EAS headquarters, and the line DGs in the Commission. So within 5 working days, they have to assess the relevance of the request, the absence of overlap with other program and project implemented by the EU, and the chapter of the IKI that are concerned by the request as well. So then on the next slide, you'll see the TAIEX cycle. So basically from the submission to the implementation and the evaluation of TAIEX events. But overall, the final decision on the implementation of TAIEX events lies with the MY unit, so the institution building unit of DGNIR. Within our unit, we have country coordinator and contact point that ensures the TAIEX assistance is to ensure that the TAIEX assistance is coherent, but also that ensure the communication with all the stakeholders. And our jobs, our project assistants, is to coordinate the organization of the events and to advise the beneficiaries and to give them, to reply to all their questions whenever they have some. Overall, I would say that TAIEX events can take 6 to 8 weeks from the submission to the request from the submission of the request to the implementation to be implemented. But we can be much quicker. It depends on the responsiveness of the beneficiaries or of the EU services regarding the TAIEX requests. Then on the next slide, I just wanted to show you some examples of TAIEX events. So the study visits, the workshop, the expert mission, and the work from home are related to gender equality, just to show that it's a peer-to-peer assistance. So basically, it's EU member states helping beneficiary in third countries to improve their legislation, and they also share best practice with them. So for example, with the study visit on domestic violence, it was the Belgian Federal Police that helped Turkey in fighting domestic violence. But it can be really requested to many other topics related to gender equality and many other aspects as well, or policy areas. And then to conclude on the next slide, I just wanted to flag that you can request TAIEX assistance as a conclusion because it offers a lot of opportunities to support actions and key priorities for EES and the Commission on different topics. So it can be human rights, fundamental rights, civil societies, but also, as I told you earlier, different topics related to the green transition or the digital transition, etc. I also would like to remind you that with the TAIEX strategic, EU institutions, agencies, and services can request TAIEX, and we encourage you to do so because basically TAIEX can finance a lot of action depending on your key priorities. I think I won't be able to stay until the end of this session, but I just wanted to let you know that if you have further questions on this topic, if you want to request TAIEX assistance, or if you just want to talk a bit further, or if you have further questions on the topic, you can directly contact my team leaders in the TAIEX Justice and Home Affairs team in C3 in DGNIR, so Willem Majama, and he will be happy to reply to all of your questions. I will be also happy to share the presentation afterwards if you want to, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thanks a lot, Adrien. Colleagues and Olga, under your kind control, because Adrien cannot stay until the end, I would like to offer if there are any immediate questions to him on his presentation. I don't know if anyone wants to ask an immediate burning question.
I have an immediate burning question, Chloe, you allow me?
Please, Milagros.
Thank you very much, Adrian, for your presentation. I would like to know if there is any ongoing or past activity related to support regulatory frameworks for gender bonds, social impact bonds, so any activity in the framework of financial instruments with an impact in gender. So, as I was saying, gender bonds or these kind of activities?
To my knowledge, but I would have to check, I would say no, we don't have this kind of support with TAIEX at the moment, but I would say that it can be, it's something that is foreseeable, that we can envisage. So if you think that it would help you or support any of the action that you want to implement, we can discuss this further, and it would be possible under TAIEX, with the TAIEX instruments, basically.
Okay, good to know. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thanks. Anyone else? Otherwise, I will.
If I can, just another quick question, maybe I missed it. How long it takes from the request to the actual happening of the TAIEX mission?
As I said a bit in the presentation, it really depends. Normally, we would say that it's from the submission, it's of the request, I would say 6 to 8 weeks. It takes 6 to 8 weeks to implement the event, but it really depends also on, as I said, on the responsiveness of the beneficiaries. So basically, if you're really quick in providing us all the info, we can implement it very quickly. So for example, we already have implemented events in 3 weeks or a month. So it's really up to the responsiveness, because when we have all the information, so the agenda, the topics that will be covered, also the location, what are the agenda and everything, then we can start launch the logistic, and yeah, basically it's pretty quick also, because the consultation process that I was talking about after the submission of the request takes only 5 days. So after that, we can implement an event in 3 weeks if we have all the answers that we need.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. No one else?
I
Then
see
I would.
a hand raised.
Hand
Yeah. Oh,
raised.
sorry. Yes. I don't know that. Omerabe.
That's, yeah.
Don't know who.
This is Abir from EU delegation in Sudan. My question
Sorry,
related to the.
We don't hear you very well. Can you speak a bit closer to the mic? I don't know. You're a bit far away.
Okay, is it okay now?
Yes, better.
Thank you. This is Abir from EU delegation Sudan. My question around the evaluation at the end of the circle of the delivery of the service. You've mentioned evaluation. I would like to know the evaluation is concerned of the service provider, I mean TAIEX, or the recipient of the service, whatever it is, are involved in this evaluation. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for your question. The evaluation process involves basically everyone, because we have the recipients and the beneficiaries. Most of the time they have to, I mean, for most of the events, so the study visit and the expert mission, but I mean also study visit, expert mission, and workshops. They have to fill in a report after the event, so they send it to us, and we see what was discussed during the event, and also what is the way forward. So this is part of the evaluation. Then there are also internal evaluation on how the beneficiary were satisfied with the TAIEX assistance, and also how us as project assistants, we think that some things could be improved in the TAIEX instrument. So it really involves everyone. Also, we send all the reports for the evaluation of an event to a list of beneficiaries, including EAS and EU delegation. So if you want to add something, or if you have you think of action that could go further after this event to deepen the topic, or to enhance the assistance that is provided, you can also mention it. So it involves a lot of persons, but most of the time it's just that we receive the report from the beneficiaries and then we share it with everyone, but we can also discuss it, how it worked, what was the main thing. Also, when ES and the EU delegation are involved, they can also give us a feedback on the evaluation of the event, because most of the time we're not, as project officer, going to the event, so they give us a feedback, and they can also tell us that the beneficiary wanted to implement further action, and we can just talk about it during a meeting and try to implement whatever is needed afterwards. And just one last thing, don't hesitate again to contact my my team leader Willem Majama, because he will be able to reply to all your questions, or at least to redirect you to the relevant team in the TAIEX unit if you want to request assistance, or just if you have questions on the TAIEX assistance. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Adrien. I think we need to pass to the next presentation. So I already introduced Milagros, so I think you can take it away, Milagros.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure for me to be here. So to have this opportunity to introduce EFSD Plus and what we are doing. As you may know, you can leave this one. As you may know, this is the first time since with the new MFF that we have to report blending and financial instruments, and we have to comply with the requirements of CAP 3. So the target of having 85% of all the interventions apply also to blending and guarantees. And for this, we have put forward some initiatives that I'm going to introduce now. So next slide, please, Olga. Yeah, just to mention some of the challenges that we are facing in our countries of operations in NEAR, which are not that different from the ones that we can observe in different countries, but we have the MENA region as the region with the largest gender parity gap. What does it mean in terms of women access to finance? Is that when you have restricted access to a bank account and limited rights in inherited property and accessing to land and no land assets, you can have problems to have a loan because you cannot use this inherited property as a collateral. So the MENA region is the region where these challenges are more difficult for women to have access to finance. And when it comes to woman-led enterprises, where is the finance gap for to access to finance, we can see that the finance gap amount to 35 billion, and this covers all the NEAR regions. I mean, neighborhood and enlargement. So. What are the challenges that we have also in front of us when it comes to blending and guarantees? We have in the past the EFSD, the European Fund for Sustainable Development, where we have been developing blending operations and guarantees. But for this new period under NDICI, we have this target that I was mentioning, but we don't have a specific guidance on how to integrate gender equality in financial instruments. There is also, because EFSD Plus is about investments, so, and the strategic documents guiding our investments are the economic and investment plans. And in these economic and investment plans, we don't have also priority sectors, regions, or instruments to be deployed. So these are the challenges that we are facing, but also we have a look to the existing results under EFSD that we have been implementing the guarantees in 2018. We see that in these guarantees, we are not able to report on gender because the guarantee agreements that were signed, gender was not targeted as a sector to be reported. So we have some data from some of the contracts, but we cannot conclude if this action is G1, G0, etc. And when it comes to blending, we have the Neighborhood Investment Platform, and if we have a look to the proposals approved at the board in 2020 and in 2021, 69% of all the intervention don't target gender. So, I mean, this is a sector where we have to do a big effort to go forward and to achieve the commitments that are established in NDICI. Next slide, Olga, please. Okay, so as I was mentioning, EFSD Plus is blending and guarantees, and it covers different kind of operations, from loans to states, so sovereign loans, as you may have heard about EIB, the European Investment Bank investments covered by the EU guarantee, but also EFSD Plus covers private sector operations, which are the ones that we are supporting through the blending platforms. We have the Neighborhood Investment Platform, the WBIF, the Western Balkans Investment Framework, and we have a recently created platform specific for Turkey, which is called TIP, Turkish Investment Platform. So blending operations are included in the framework of EFSD+, and also guarantees. Now, we are going to see it later, we have made some modifications in order to include all the gender and human rights requirements. These operations under EFSD+ follow the policy first approach, and they have to comply with our flagship priority investments, and they have to be in line with the priorities established in the economic and investment plans. And as I was mentioning, gap-free targets are applicable for the first time to guarantees and blending. Where we are in this EFSD+ framework, we have launched a call for proposals in April about 6 billion, and the deadline is the 12th of July. So IFIs and DFIs are invited to submit proposals under 6 different investment windows. First one is connectivity, which refers to investments under digital, transport, and sustainable energy. We have another window for agriculture, forestry, and water, that it includes also biodiversity and the blue economy. We have sustainable cities, which is referring to investments in infrastructure in cities. We have also sustainable finance, which is a new window where we have quite a lot of hopes of the capacity of this window to mobilize private capital towards the SDGs, including SDG 5. I'm going to talk later about this window. We have also the human development window, which covers also health, education, and the care economy, which is fundamental for women to have access for jobs. So how to support this care economy that I'm going to discuss later. And we had a classical investment window, which is for MSME financing. Next slide. So what we are doing to incorporate gender requirements in the EFSD+. So first of all, we have modified the application forms in order to include gender and the human rights-based approach in the application forms. So a gender equality assessment is required in all the operations. And for proposals that are G0, they have to duly justify by a do no harm approach. And we have included also in the reporting the requirements to report against specific indicators, which include some of the indicators coming from the gap-free. For the first time, also, EFSD+ is going to have a results measurement framework that we were lacking previously in EFSD. There will be a presentation of the results measurement framework. I don't know if it is going to be next week or in 2 weeks, but before the end of the call for proposals. And we will be introducing also the gender requirements in this meeting. Next slide. So which are the new sectors and instruments that we have under EFSD+? As I was mentioning, we have the sustainable finance window, where it depends always which kind of proposals we are going to receive from the IFIs, because this is not directly implemented by the Commission. It's proposals submitted by IFIs, but they can submit proposals that promote the development of social or gender bonds. This is because I was asking the question previously to Adrian if there are already initiatives in this regard under TAIEX. We are working also under this window because there will be a fund for green bonds. So we are promoting gender mainstreaming of these green bonds. We would like gender to be included in the investment criteria, but it can be included also in the use of proceeds, which means which are the benefits coming from these bonds, and to link these benefits to gender smart investing that we are going to discuss later. And we have the care economy, which we can support through lending platforms. It is already in the Neighborhood Investment Platform platform, but also in the human development window, childcare initiatives. So we can support women independence by having access to affordable childcare, so they could have easier access to the labor market. And under the MSME financing, we can support also gender smart funds and funds which are exclusively lending to women-led enterprises. And all the windows could cover the gender approach, but also, for example, the digital economy offers promising opportunities to further increase women access to financial services. So financial technology, digital payments for MSME financing that can help further access and further financial inclusion of women. Next slide. So which is the expected role that you can have under the EFSD Plus? So first of all, because most of the countries that are represented in NEAR, they have already the CRIPS, so facilitate access to CRIPS, access to the CRIPS and gender and human rights analysis data that are available already. Secondly, get involved in the negotiations. We are, for example, from the headquarters, we are already negotiating with IFIs and trying to influence the gender mainstreaming in the pipeline development. So this is something that from the headquarters, from the delegations, we encourage to participate in the negotiations that are with the IFIs together with your financial and private sector colleagues in the delegation. This includes all to help to identify gender lens projects under the different investment windows. So IFIs are going to the delegations to introduce the proposal. So this is the moment where you can influence in these meetings how to further mainstream in the proposal. And also, when we are going to receive the 12th of July, the proposals, there will be a role for the delegations to assess. So there will be a technical assessment meeting where the assessment form will be distributed. So we will count with your assessment and your inputs for these proposals. It is already done it is already a work in progress for blending. We are receiving your inputs for blending proposals. So for the guarantees, it's going to be the same. And the role of the gender focal persons is also to work to improve the framework conditions for gender-related investment climate. We have, for example, some initiatives already ongoing. For example, in Egypt, we have the support to the central bank to gender mainstreaming the financial inclusion strategy. So this kind of initiatives are also in the framework of EFSD+. Next slide, please. What are we doing at headquarters level? As I mentioned, we don't have a specific guidance on how to achieve this 85% of interventions gender mainstreaming. So we have started, first of all, to work on templates. We have worked also on communication. You may have received a newsletter at the beginning of June, I think so, on EFSD Plus, how it works, what does it mean to have a portfolio approach, a line-by-line approach, what is a guarantee, how to have one project covered by this guarantee. So any question you may have, I'm available, and we have already done an outreach event to explain what is EFSD Plus for the gender focal persons in February, and we are working also to increase our knowledge internally here in the headquarters. We are also identifying avenues for gender smart investing. That means to invest in projects that integrate the gender analysis into the existing investment strategy for better social and financial outcomes. And it can be done through investing in enterprises that offer products or services that improve the lives of women, or investing in enterprises that promote workplace equity, or investing in woman-led enterprises. So there are different approaches. And as I was mentioning, we are going also to present the commitments and requirements for gender equality to IFIs in our upcoming meeting. And it will be in the same context where the results measurement framework is going to be introduced. Moreover, we have established a working group with IFIs and DFIs on human rights, on the human rights-based approach and gender equality. We started in December with a seminar where we launched this working group, and we have the technical assistance from Criterion Institute that is supporting us to develop a strategic approach on how to deal with gender and the financial instruments. We are still at the first step. They have to develop also specific tools and joint trainings. And next slide. So for the gender equality and human rights-based approach strategic plan, the consultancy has suggested four work streams. The first one is integrate gender mainstreaming and the human rights-based approach into the investment process. And here there are some selected activities. We have still to define the priority because of the limited resources that we have, but we will develop guidelines for G1 and G2 markers. We will develop guidance also for financial partners on integrating gender and human rights into the investment process. And it includes also providing training for financial partners. On the second work stream, value gender equality and human rights material to investment outcomes. The proposed actions include to develop case studies that support the materiality of gender and human rights to investments. On the third work stream, leverage the process the European Commission has through their investment mechanisms. Here also we will work to develop case studies of different EU tools being leveraged to advance gender equality and the human rights-based approach. And in the fourth work stream, we will work to develop new approaches to advance gender equality and human rights. And this includes amplifying the intent of partners looking to integrate human rights into investments, as well as the gender mainstreaming, and raise issues to be taken up by other types of EU support. So these are the four work streams that we will develop. This is just first draft that will be also discussed tomorrow in a session with INPA that I will invite you to attend, because we will be also talking about gender lens investing. So if you are interested in knowing more about gender lens investing and what we are doing under EFSD Plus, I will invite you to join. And just to say thank you, I'm available for any question, and this is my email, and you can reach me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Milagros. I'm conscious of the time, so Milagros, will you be able to stay until the end of the session, or should we take your questions now?
Please now, because I have another issue at 11:30, sorry.
Okay, any immediate questions for Milagros? I don't see any. Milagros, you'll let us know, of course, if we can share your presentation with the colleagues.
Yeah, I will share the last version with the documents that I mentioned, so with the links, so you can have all the documents. Just one thing, through Lina, we have requested to the EU delegations in the East if they have any initiative that could be supported through EFSD Plus. And I have received already some inputs from Azerbaijan, so very much welcome if any delegation have initiatives, ideas that can be supported. I'm very happy to discuss about it.
Okay, thank you very much. In this case, I suggest that we move straight on to the next part of the session, which is on the presentations from you, from the delegations, on the monitoring and reporting of the CLIPS. I was informed that unfortunately our colleague from Georgia will not be able to be present today, and that our colleague from Azerbaijan, Mariam Haji Ismailova, needs to leave. So maybe the best is that I give the floor to her immediately, and then we take the others. Mariam, the floor is yours.
Hello, good afternoon. Sorry to be in rush and change your agenda sequence.
No problem. Is there any way you can speak a tiny bit closer to the mic? I don't know. Try again.
Is it better?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So very quickly from our side, so I think we all passed the same stages in the development of CLIP. We've, I think all of us discussed it with, we have a round of discussions with civil society organizations, with the government institutions. In our case, we had discussions with technical assistance coordination group of international organizations working in the gender field. So by collecting all of this data, we had a better clue on the areas. Of course, in addition to that, I mean, the main reference document for us was the country gender profile. So, and with all this, with the profile and all of this coordination meetings, we understood clearly where are the gaps, especially which of the areas are not covered by the other donors, are not covered at all, or are covered less. So therefore, CLIP really helped us. Of course, I forgot to mention member states. It's very important. I think I have.
Miriam, I'm afraid
yes.
You're breaking up a bit, Miriam.
Yes, I'm sorry because I don't know how come, but the other meeting is already starting in parallel. But okay, so what we did is actually, with our development of AAP, Annual Action Programming, we used all the, let's say, elements of CLIP. So to say that we have 4 areas in the CLIP in which we have to work on. And we identified that out of 4, 3 are already covered or to be covered within other projects. So for our bilateral assistance, women economic empowerment and gender responsive budgeting would be the key areas to intervene. So this how we came up with, and we already had, of course, at hand the problem analysis. We had the areas in which invest. We had stakeholders ready for this because it should be also discussed with the government counterparts. So I think that was very good timing for all of this coming back to back. Country gender, CLIP, and formulation of aid. So that we did it. Yeah, so this, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so this how we tried to have it 3-in-1, so analysis with the ready priorities of CLIP and then bilateral assistance. So with this, I think, and then in addition, what we try to do also, how we try to use the CLIP whenever we have any coordination meetings, either with the member states or with international organizations, we again refer to priorities of CLIP to say, okay, if you propose any idea or if you want the cooperation with EU, we would be interested, and then we direct them more. So we are not now diversifying us to all and everything, but more concentrating on the concrete areas. So at least this is how we're better equipped with the knowledge, and we are better ready for the more targeted assistance.
And Maya, excuse me for intervening, but you will also now participate in QSG2 for the action
I have to, yes,
document. But there you also have a suggestion on a component on gender equality.
And that's what I said, that maybe then when you couldn't hear, that's what I said, that for the bilateral assistance, that for the big programming 2022, we had a separate component on the women economic empowerment, and we identified that all other 3 areas of CLIP are already covered by other donors or by us, but within other projects. So women economic empowerment will be a niche to target and to invest in. So the QSG2, which is in parallel starting, already started, is dedicated to the component with the SME development, women-led businesses with their capacity building, with the seed funding, and with the gender-responsive budgeting, because this part was specifically highlighted as a gap in our country gender profile. And we think that with this component under bilateral assistance, we would be able to really fill the gap. Afterwards, there was also another idea, again, which we came up together with the headquarters colleagues, and thanks Alina for this, for taking a very proactive part in that, in these discussions. We also want to support the social infrastructures, so-called, so let's say shelters that are, and this is the only part, so on the domestic violence, because we are and gender-based violence, to put it broader, which is covered under other projects, but specifically the part on support of the social infrastructures are not seen by none of the donors in the country, or none of the projects that are EU funded. So just to repeat myself, to say that it was the CLIP is really a Bible these days, which we use in better structuring our targeted assistance. Thank you. And sorry that I was quick and I need to leave to QSG. Thank you.
No problem, Mariam. Thank you very much. I suggest we take the other speaker from the East before going to the South and the enlargement region. So maybe Maria Papamichail from Armenia.
Hello, good morning or good afternoon, depending on which area you are. Can you hear me correctly? Yes, thank you. So first, I would like to thank you, to thank all the organizers for this event. I will stick to 5 minutes, so to respect the time. And first, I would like to say a couple of things for the situation in Armenia to set the context, because it is important in order to understand the challenges and the way forward. So Armenia is in a post-war situation after a war with many losses and with many open issues that are still pending, including humanitarian issues. So the Armenian society was and still is traumatized and seriously affected in the socioeconomic field. And what they are looking is stability and some positive developments for their everyday life. So when we were asked a colleague from Azerbaijan presented before, when we prepared the clip, the first thought that we had is to have a mapping of the situation in the ground, in order to identify the gaps and see where our priorities are going to be put. And of course, in line with the gap-free document. And for this, we are very grateful to the EU for Gender Reform Help Desk and our national expert who ran this study and prepared the country gender profile, which was the basis for our analysis. And right after, we have organized 3 consultations rounds first with the government and mainly with the Ministry of Justice, Ministry of Education, and Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs, that are key ministries for the gender mainstreaming issue. And the positive thing is that we had 3 female deputy ministers that they were keen to work on gender and do a sincere and open discussion in order to see what is missing and how far we can go. Then secondly, we consult with the civil society that really people, they were thirsty to put the gender equality and women's empowerment as a priority. So it was very much from the society also coming, the need. And we discussed with people in all regions in Armenia. And then the last step was to consult with the EU member states and exchange on how to collaborate, how to be complementary and not to duplicate, and implement at the better way the gender mainstreaming. So after the finalization and the endorsement of the CLIP by the member states, we had the idea to make an official launch, which would be less bureaucratic and more meaningful and creative. So in collaboration with UNFPA, we have organized a public event on 20th of June. So it is very recently to present our country implementation plan in an innovative way. And in this event, I would like to say just a few words about this. In this event, we have invited 6 women of Armenia to share their stories. The women, they came from various regions, including the border region of Sunik, which was heavily affected by the war. And we tried to keep the balance to have women in various age groups, and also to have women from general fields where we have stereotypes. So we had from science and technology, we had also disabled women, and so to have a little bit of all fields. My words are very poor to express how it was the exact picture, but there was a performance with live classic music, and then in the scene, together with the actors, there were these women that after they were put in a huge cube, which this cube symbolized the stereotypes. That was a, let's say, virtual cube, but it was framed. And then one by one, the women got out of the cube, they broke the stereotypes and said their stories with a link to our priorities in the clip and key messages. And then at the end, there was one woman who was an actor who was left in the cube to symbolize that this is a continuous effort, and more efforts are needed, and we needed to go on this way. It was an emotional performance, and what the goal was is to make people think about it. So I think we reached the goal. We had more than 100 people that attended this event. We had representatives from the national authorities, the member states, the civil society, the youth organizations. And this event was also on live stream, and we had very good comments. I would also like to mention that we have organized prior to the event a training on gender mainstreaming for the colleagues of the delegation. But we have decided also to offer some places to the national authorities, to the key ministries, and to civil society. And the course, that was a 2-day course. It was successful. We had very good feedback from the civil society. And in this course, we had also a module which was only for EU delegation colleagues. And that was more on reporting, budgeting, and communication. And on our way forward, in our communication, we now pay attention to always have in mind and mention the gender perspective. We have also projects we have a new call for proposals, which is ongoing at the moment. With 1 million, we have dedicated 1 million euros in these projects. And in the terms of reference, they are mentioned all they're in line with our CLIP priorities. Our CLIP and gender country profile, they are published in our website, also in local language. So I will stop here, and I would like to thank my colleague Bruno, who is not present today, for the work we did together. And also I would like to thank the colleagues from DG NEAR, and in particular Lina Nilsson, for the help and guidance. Thank you.
Thanks, Maria. I see we're running out of time, so I'd ask the next speakers to be quite short and incisive. I think the next speaker is Rula Abbas from Beirut.
Yes, hello everybody. I'll be very short just to respect your time. I'll follow the questions that you have shared with us. So I start with what has been done. I will go thoroughly through which objective the EU delegation in Lebanon has started or is working on. So by the objective one, where we're talking about the 85% of the actions, 2021, 2022 are the action documents were really gender sensitive, including sectors that were usually, we missed the gender lens, like in security, in anti-corruption, in water and energy. These were addressed in the current action document. Concerning objective 4, which is related to sex desegregated data indicator, this is systematically done already, even under the GAP 2, where we have all the reporting or result to be sex and age desegregated. For the objective 5, where we're talking about the gender country profile and the CLIP, what we have done is that we did a sector gender analysis in Lebanon. We partnered with UN Women, who is considered like a neutral specialized agency and well recognized by all actors like CSOs and government. They did extensive consultations, more than 100 consultations with relevant stakeholders, and they did just consultations with EU member states, because we believe that GAP also should be, jointly implemented with the EU member state. The result was this gender analysis, based on which the CLIP was drafted. And then the third step is now ongoing, where we're going to have a G2 program. It is under preparation. We are at the PRM2 stage, so we hope it will be adopted. The objective 6, which is related to working better together and sharing information. Actually, we have, as gender focal point, I'm requested by the management to be present in the regular monthly coordination meeting with EU member states, where I brief them about gender and civil society horizontal issues. We have a human rights working group with member states. We don't want to create a gender working group separately, so we ought to have like gender in the agenda of any human rights working group, which is also a regular meeting between EU delegation and EU member state. And we're thinking in the future to have a joint programming for gender. The last objective on which we are working is the political security and sectoral policy dialogue. Here, I would like to mention that Lebanon, because we are in a crisis situation, and I guess everybody knows about the Port of Beirut blast, they have created, the donors, including EU, UN, and World Bank, they created something we call the 3RF process, which is reform, recovery, and reconstruction. And here the EU delegation is co-leading on the gender working group, which is mandated in a way to engender our reform process and our activities and support to citizens affected by the blast and in the reform process. As for the part 2 of the GAP 3, I consider that it was very useful for us. First, it was useful when we were drafting the TOR of the gender analysis, when we were also drafting the CLIP document, and when we were drafting the action document for the G2 program. And as a gender focal point, all the information and these staff working documents were shared with my colleagues when they were drafting their document, and it was very useful for them. The challenges that we are facing, the current situation, we are in a really crisis situation, so which in a way limit our work at policy level and legal level. So for instance, the gender quota, the personal status law, we are still at the same situation since many years, and that situation, the crisis situation, does not allow us to move forward. The second challenge, which is internal challenge, is that at the QRM2, I don't know if there were a gender focal point present, because from the questions that I heard, I felt that there is, the questions, I felt that there was a need for a gender focal point from headquarters to be there. I'm not sure if it was there, but this is, I consider it a challenge for us, because we need to have the support from gender focal point at headquarters when we are addressing an action document, a G2 action document in the QRM. The way to move forward, I think we need to work more on coordination with EU member states, with try to have this complementary action. We hope to adopt this action document to reach the 85% objective of GAP3. And we need to work more on having EU further leading and not co-leading on the gender working group, which is established under the reform process that Lebanon is currently working on. This is in brief what we have done for the GAP. Over to you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to shake things up a bit, if you allow me. I don't know if Olga will kill me, but maybe I pass the floor to someone from the enlargement region now, and then we go back to the south, and we'll just alternate so everyone gets a chance. Maybe I don't know if our colleague from the Bosnia-Herzegovina delegation, Aisha Adrovic-Beslagic, is ready. Maybe. Thanks, Aisha.
Yeah, thank you. I'm here. I will try to be as short as possible. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Yeah. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to address you today. I will just shortly present you a clip, preparation of the clip, and where we stand now. So as for the Bosnia-Herzegovina, we developed CLIP and updated the AUBH gender country profile through Gender Equality Facility project, which is implemented by UN Women. CSOs, institutional mechanism, member states, and international organizations, they were consulted during the process. In Bosnia-Herzegovina, we have now identified 25 specific country priorities, and we contribute to its implementation by providing financial and political support. And direct support is provided to the gender institutional mechanism, while civil society are supported through our thematic program on human rights and democracy. We use a CLIP for IPA programming process, as well as for the preparation of our calls. For example, our recent call, thematic program on human rights and democracy, we included CLIP, and we specified CLIP as one of the references. All our applicants were actually asked to refer to one or more priorities identified in the CLIP. It is also highlighted in the guidelines that this will be assessed during the evaluation. I must say that also our EOSR team is going to initiate project promoting women candidates ahead of 2022 VIH election. The project is also going to contribute to one of the priorities identified in CLIP. Currently, European Union supports 10 different projects with total value of over 3 billion euros, addressing gender equality, gender-based violence, prevention, and direct work with victims of violence, awareness raising and promotion of equal opportunities, and all of these projects actually contributes to the implementation of CLIP. I was planning to talk about one of the projects, but I will just mention it shortly. One of our flagship projects is the project that provides economic support to women victims of violence. We provided 18 sub-grants supporting the businesses of those women victims of domestic violence. What is interesting here is that we have like so-called business angels. This is a pool of well-experienced and successful business women and men who actually volunteer to support those women with the advice, opening doors for making partnerships, selling goods, and so on and so on. So where we stand now, we are actually trying to report on the implementation of the CLIP. We were waiting templates and information from the AHQ. But in the meantime, since we have not received yet, we developed our own table where we actually included all our priorities, and we included columns for each of the stakeholders. And currently we are requesting information from our institutional gender mechanism on the implementation of CLIP. We are going to base on not on the activity, but actually on the result base, to be very concrete and specific in its reporting. We are also going to approach, we expect the inputs by the end of June from the gender institutional mechanism. We also are going to approach member states, international organizations, and CSOs. And then we will have one column which actually summarize all of these results of all these stakeholders. What we hope once we get a template on the reporting from HQ, that we will be just able to translate this information into a template that is going to be hopefully provided to us. So at this stage, we need information on the deadlines, when we have to report on the CLIP, when to submit it, to whom, how, and any templates. Yeah, in the meantime, we are going to work on the implementation and contribution of the CLIP and working together with all relevant stakeholders. Yeah, so that's all from me. Yeah, and I would just want to thank to DG NEAR and to our dear Olga for all her support, and she will definitely be missed in the next period, but hopefully we will be able to see each other again. Yeah, so that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Aisha. I'd like to now pass the floor to Amal Abu Geriez, Abu Geriez from Jordan. Sorry for massacring your name.
It's okay, no problem. Good morning, everyone. My name is Amal Abu Geriez. I'm the gender focal point at the European Union Jordan delegation. First of all, I would like to highlight what we have done already in the club, because it is really challenging topic to tackle gender in general in Jordan, and this is that I have noticed since I have joined the EU recently in February 2022. So I'll focus on the observations during this period and what's have been done actually during the previous years. So the clip was a conclusion of different consultation sessions that have been actually conducted between the EU delegation and different 70 stakeholders, including mainly the member states, the government of Jordan, UN agencies, and civil society organizations. Based on these consultations, the club actually there was as well gender analysis, gender country profile has been as well prepared by a local organization in Jordan. Unfortunately, the quality of the gender analysis and the different sectors that we cover was a bit weak, and it won't really help the colleagues in the delegation to use this the gender country profile into their programming. And during these consultations and based on the country profile, one of the main priorities that was indicated in the clip was the gender-based violence and how to tackle gender-based violence in Jordan, specifically after COVID-19, because the COVID-19 pandemic actually not only put on hold efforts toward gender equality, but as well created more additional problems for women. Jordan, and that ranged actually from increased sexual and gender-based violence to child marriages and interrupted education. For the EU delegation in Jordan, along with the member states the member states, they have agreed to work on women equality, gender equality, and women empowerment. And we are in the EU delegation focus on gender mainstream, the women empowerment mainstreaming, and the three priorities that were indicated in the multi-annual indicated program for Jordan. And as well, there is dedication or commitment from the EU as well and the member states in order to work hand in hand with the authorities and civil society for progress in all the 6 thematic area of the GAP3. For that, there are different projects or different programming that took into consideration the gender-based violence in Jordan, and there was different projects that tackle this issue. Specific, or let's say, some examples are the ongoing EU-funded program PAVE, Policies Against Violence, and it actually tackles more the political and legal and socio-cultural environment for labor market participation of women, with a particular emphasis on gender discrimination and gender-based violence. Another project EU program actually is the putting words into actions for the elimination of gender-based violence. And this is as well more on works on prevention in terms of identifying and confronting the root causes that lead to sexual violence while implementing a gendered approach to address attitudes rooted in discrimination. There is another EU regional trust fund program for Syria, Madad, implemented program that tackle on social practices that normalize gender-based violence. And there is a new program that started that is implemented, and it has 2 components. First one is implemented by ACID, and it is on improving access to gender-based violence prevention and protection services for refugees and host communities. The other one is that will be implemented by GIZ, and it tackles police reforms, capacity building, and gender sensitization on gender crime prevention and case management. There are another projects that tackle as well the promoting democracy and women's rights in the different governorates in Jordan. There are another project that tackles mainly the children's rights, the early marriage, and how to raise the children's voices and express themselves through the art of property. And as well, the EU has a chair, as a co-chair, along with the UN Women and the Jordanian National Commission for Women, the high level Gender Partners Coordination Group, where donors and like-minded countries participate, and in which they discuss in depth the gender equality issues and women empowerment issues and challenges in Jordan. The main challenges that we face actually in Jordan, it is like, I can say that it is divided on the internal level of the EU, as well as on the legal, or let's say the actual situation in Jordan itself. Inside the delegation, as I mentioned in the beginning, that we have a problem that the gender analysis is not really strong enough to help in the programming phase. That's why there was a gap actually in implementing the first pillar of the 85% target in the programming for 2022. And I came a bit late in the first QRM, and I was able to set a bit some of the indicators based on disaggregated data, and like followed on somehow how to integrate gender into programming. or mainstream gender in programming. The other challenge that we face inside the delegation is there is somehow resistance from the colleagues into tackling the gender equality and women empowerment in some programming or some thematic areas. Specifically when we talk about like the climate change, water nexus, water food nexus, it's like there is no direct target on women, and it is always the discussion on is it the proper timing to discuss gender mainstreaming or to discuss gender equality at the time being. On the other hand, there is really no, on the government side, there is no clear assessment of where it stands actually in relation to its goals for gender equality and which interventions are necessary to achieve its vision. As well as there is, let's say this is from both sides, from our side as EU and the government of Jordan, there is insufficient communication of the gender equality vision statement to policymakers. So this is that the discussion is still not really open in this, or it will start soon. What we are going another observation that I have noticed throughout the QRM 1 and 2, and the second one is that, or actually throughout the programming of the new programs, that I noticed that women component is added as an addition, like to be let's say it's not really added as a main component, but it is like we want to say that we are covering, we're benefiting women in this area, but we don't stress on the benefit of men and women. And the other thing is that the women needs and men needs is really absent in the identification phase of any project or any program in Jordan. The way forward, now, the thing is that we're working on setting some guidelines on gender mainstreaming in programming for the EU in Jordan, and in order to start think of gender as of the identification phase of any project or program, and as well as to work more on the ideas that gender is an ongoing process that it shall be taken into consideration throughout the whole project or program phases, since the identification, the definition phase, the setup, the planning and implementation of the project, and it is really important, or let's say the other steps that are taken into consideration, that we need to convince everyone that it's not only the responsibility of the gender focal point to tackle the gender mainstreaming, it's the responsibility of everyone to ensure gender mainstreaming in all programming. This is from my side. I'm sorry if I have took more than the time that I was supposed to take it. Thank you.
Thank you, Amal. Colleagues, we only have about 7 minutes left, or 8 minutes left. I'm trying to see with the organizers if we can extend a bit the session, but I'm not sure that's possible. So I will give the floor now to maybe to Irena or Enkeleda, who wants to take the floor, because I'm just not sure we'll manage to go through all the speakers.
Okay.
Anas, our colleague from TPIC is going to try and get us an extension, but it's not sure that it will be possible. So yeah.
Good day from me. I will be extremely short and I won't repeat what our colleague said. CLIP, for us, it's a roadmap which is definitely important for all of the stakeholders in the country. But the quality of the consultation process proved to be actually a factor of implementation, the CLIP. What I'm gonna say, I was blessed because I'm also a civil society focal point, and the civil society in the aspect of having a quality CLIP and implementation was practically crucial. There are four, should I say, approaches we are applying in managing the whole process. Is to use what is already functioning in the context where GAP is implemented. Then to connect what is good. Practically, we did a lot of with civil society platform, actually encouraging government to be on board, and it helped the other, should I say, international organizations trying to find synergies with the civil society action. Then, of course, provide support to all of the process. In the beginning, we mentioned the TAEX. We already utilize TAEX for the legal support on the law on gender equality. Also we will utilize now for the consultation process to have quality, because it's introducing new transgender, should I say, categories which should be well articulated in with all of the interested sides. And of course, affirmation of this expertise, which we think also is very important for the quality of the implementation. I will say with example. We strongly believe in the in-house training. It's very important. So in September, we invite our civil society colleagues to train us, which is the implementer of the IPA Civil Society Facility project, Reactor and Clean Until Clean. And this is how we built also strong, should I say, synergies with their work, but also appreciating their long-term expertise, because not all of us are actually knowledgeable. In this aspect, I would highlight that further in-house training is necessary, also, especially on the hierarchy. Then I think the quality of the whole gender mainstreaming in all of our work will be strengthened. Government is also on board. Practically, we have a non-formal platform, which is utilizing the civil society platforms already existing to target the local grassroots organizations through their already existing platforms, but also to on board the main stakeholders in the government, and especially in the Ministry of Labor and Social Policy. So from September, we will make them on board for this coordination. I don't want to repeat that other donors are involved. You can read our clip when you can see that we were blessed to have donors which were making synergies with us, and we already some of the priorities are already tackled through the other donors, like the Swiss, where with the international, actually the UN Women are already implementing the gender equality facility, which is actually targeting one of the main priorities in the clip. And final thing, I think, we also, of course, we are utilizing the programming exercise. The next call for proposal that we are about to launch is having one lot, which will providing to civil society organization possibility to implement projects vis-a-vis the framework called CLIP. One additional thing, I think coordination among all of us is very needed. I'm a civil society person and I need people, so such forums, but also the gender coffees, I think are very useful information where we exchange our reality, because sometimes the gender focal points are lonely in the environment we work, I mean, vis-a-vis the rest of the portfolios. And all the best to Olga and to Lina. That's it.
Thanks, Irena. Okay, we've managed to extend a little bit, so we won't finish at 12:15 sharp. But I need to ask our last two colleagues from delegations to really be as brief as possible. So first, Laura Donati from Algeria, and then Enkeleida Bregu from Albania. Maybe Enkeleida, you can take the floor right after Laura's finished. I won't intervene, and then we can finish faster.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me? I hope you can, because we have had problems with the internet. I will try to be as short as possible. And so everything started with the gender country profile. And we have identified two main problems, let's say in Algeria, two areas that we would like to have our programs focused on. The first one is that there is a huge gap in between the education and the world of work for women. In fact, only the 18% of women are working, are active, part of the active population in Algeria. But also women, they are the 65% of the graduates. So there is a huge gap in between university and the world of work. And there is a high vulnerability for women in rural areas. So our clip focused on these two findings. We have chosen the thematic only one thematic area, which is to promote economic and social rights and empowering girls and women. And then out of the objectives, the impact, we have chosen 3 results. And we have tried to insert these 3 results in our future programs. And at the moment, currently, we have only one program, G2, GenderMark G2, which is a regional project which has been implemented by the Initiative Feministe Euro-Mediterranean. And they are very active against violence, against gender-based violence. They have social campaigns to raise awareness, training, seminars, and formations. And for what concerns the new programs that we are going to launch, we aim to have all the 3 of them as G1. This is the aim. And so we, according to the minimum criteria of the DAC OECD, we have for not all the 3 of them, we have done a previous gender analysis, but in the assessment, we have specified that we are going to have gender analysis when the analysis is done during the implementation phase at the very beginning for the launch of the program. This is one of the maybe challenges we have been focusing because we haven't been able to carry a gender analysis before, and I wanted to know your opinion on that, if you have any thoughts. And then another concerns or thinking we were having is that the minimum criteria says that the presence of at least one explicit gender equality objective, and we have adopted the gender focus, the gender sphere on the 3rd level, which in French will be the produit, and so on the result level of the logical framework. And I wanted to know your opinion on that too, on the level of the logical frameworks and how to integrate gender. And about problems, we have had some problems with support of partners and local authorities maybe too. And so, as you may imagine, and also sometimes in the formulation of the result, because we try to be as we try to be as close as possible to what will be on OPSIS. And so I wanted to know how you are addressing this issue, for example. And yes, I think this is the main points very quickly for you. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you very much for sharing your thoughts.
Thanks, Laura. And Keleida?
Yes, I'm taking the floor. Do you hear me? Okay. So for Albania, I'm the gender focal point, and also I covered the program on employment, social policies, and social inclusion, which somehow has helped me in particular to really do a lot of work in this thematic area. For Albania, just to keep it short, I think we did a really good process in establishing CLIP with a lot of partnerships with civil society organizations, member states, and other international partners, as well as with the government. We did a good alignment with the national strategy on gender equality because also last year, the new national strategy was adopted. So we had the chance to influence this process and bring more alignment and also reflect that better in the CLIP. We received some very good support also from SIDA, which was also enabling both the EU delegation, but also the whole group of member states in terms of really having lots of good discussions in mapping the priorities, the needs, but also doing a good mapping on the different sector analysis and also on different areas that each EU member states was working, and also discuss on the complementarities. This is important because also we identified lots of areas where we do joint work, but at the same time, areas where, for example, we wouldn't focus as the EU, but another member states would focus. So in this regard, our, let's say, one of the areas for coordination is to really continue this dialogue. In terms of IPA 3, this is another, I would say it's still a challenge for countries in pre-accession to really, at least for Albania, to really systematize IPA 3 programming as a process, and also ensure how gender mainstreaming is both mainstream, but also in terms of quality check. What we noticed from the IPA 2021-2022 exercises, the process has been very, how to say, chaotic in terms of engagement with the beneficiary, with the government. We also had the election, so we had lots of changes in the government. New agency was created, so all those structural changes really influenced a lot the way how priorities were set and the way how gender was mainstreamed. However, through a lot of pushing and a lot of pressing, I would say, we managed to ensure some good mainstreaming under for IPA 21 and 22. In total, we have 11 actions under those 2 years programs, and apart from one or two, all are mainstream. Now, I wouldn't say we are fully happy with the mainstreaming. I think we could have done more, but given the whole complexity of the process of IPA 3 designing, with a lot of unclarities, a lot of back and forth, and sometimes I would say even when we managed to include a lot of, for example, analysis on gender on different sectors, we received the feedback from time to time from our HQ that, well, we should cut, you know, respect the template, and somehow we end up cutting gender or human rights, let's say, different aspects. So in this regard, my message is that we really need our HQ, the different sections, to be on board and ensure that from the quality check perspective, gender is well checked, because also it helps us when it comes at the dialogue with the beneficiary to kind of push this process. I would say that Albania has already a targeted action on which is called EU for Gender Equality, and through that action, which is implemented by UN Women, we managed to support the gender mainstreaming, but also we have some good actions at the local level, really bringing this dimension more at the local level, supporting the signing of the EU Charter for Equality and helping local government to establish local action plans on gender equality. As part of the capacity building, mentoring, coaching that we provide through this project, I would say that one good practice we are establishing is the preparation of policy guidance for different thematic areas, which will serve as a tool to both designing process, but also on the implementation. And we will use those also in terms of training, capacity building of both EU delegation staff and also beneficiary and our implementing partner. In terms of engagement with civil society, we also have planned a targeted action on supporting civil society capacities and actions on gender equality and also on LGBT rights under the civil society facility and media. And under that action, we will ensure when the call comes out to make this alignment with the CLIP, but also we have done a good assessment last year with civil society on their needs for capacity building, support, activism, and different thematic areas. One of the big challenges we are encountering right now, but I believe we will solve it, is that we planned under IPA 2022 in coordination with the previous government a targeted action on gender equality, which seems that was cut by our HQ because of the limited funds on the overall portfolio. We were not very happy with that because it was a long process of dialogue, pushing, and negotiations, and now we are in this process that we cut it. So we are going to try to find a way to plan it again or budgeted. And from this regard, and in this regard, I really want to highlight the need for more awareness and more ownership also from our HQ and leadership in terms of gender, the action on gender. Last point, I want to highlight the partnership with civil society organizations. I think in Albania, we have established a good partnership both in terms of monitoring the CLIP, but also in terms of really continuous dialogue. We don't wait for the end of the year to talk to them. We are in continuous contact and dialogue with the civil society, and also we want to use their expertise when it comes at the process of implementation of different actions under the IPA 21-22, and also in establishing the monitoring framework. One of the colleagues mentioned OPSIS, and I want also to repeat that, because as we are moving now with OPSIS and also encoding log frames and indicators and so on, it's very important that this is done well, so that when we move on with the reporting, it would be important to kind of extract such information possibly from OPSIS. And yes, we wait for the templates and also some clear instructions on the monitoring of those actions and on the reporting that is expected to come. But overall, it's moving. We do have a country gender analysis from 21, which we hope to renew in 23. And also we try to also look at the new emerging, let's say, priorities. For example, we have some interesting actions such as EU for circular economy, where we want to see how to really best engage and support women, EU for innovation. So we have some emerging areas where we would like to see gender, not just mainstream, but also better targeted. We have some specific actions targeting women. I'm not going to talk about gender-based violence as one of the priorities in the CLIP, because this is an area that we also do a lot, but not to take too much time. The third priority in the CLIP is supporting leadership, youth organizations, and activism. And in this regard, we have a specific action under IPA 22 on EU for Youth, and also under the Action EU for Democracy. So we have tried to kind of link the different actions with the priorities in the CLIP. As one of the 6 countries in the pre-accession and the Western Balkan, we are now in the process of designing the Youth Guarantee Scheme, which is going to be a huge intervention for our country as well. And in that regard, we are doing some very specific analysis related to gender to really look at how to really target gender within the new upcoming action on EU Youth Guarantee. So with this, I am trying to close because I know it's not much time. I really would like to thank in particular Olga for her really big contribution and support, continuous support to us, but also colleagues in our region. We have a very good network, and it helps, especially when we have challenges and difficulties. It helps a lot to share different practices and different also solutions. So thank you very much also for this meeting.
Thank you, Enkeleida. I'll pass the floor back to Olga. I don't know if we have time for some questions, but we need to wrap up very soon. Thanks, and thank you to all the colleagues from the delegations who shared. It was really most interesting and enlightening. And I mean, you face a lot of the same issues, I think, but also you're working in ways that are very inspiring for us, also with civil society. Olga, the floor is yours. Olga, you're muted. We cannot hear you. You're not muted, but it seems that maybe it's your device. Yeah, now we can hear you.
What happened? Yeah. Okay, so thank you very much, for all the interventions. I would like to respond to a couple of questions, that you raised. For example, Rola, you asked specifically if we participated, headquarters, to the Lebanon, to the to the last meeting, and I was consulted. I know that Malena at that time was out of the office, so Isabel contacted me and she shared the document with me. That was the Women's Empowerment Hub. So I had a look into the document. It was quite good, and a baseline. It was mentioned that a baseline was going to be established. I just made the comment that the indicators were not so smart. I mean, they were quite general. No, when we said just number of trainings that will be done, or just to make sure that we have like really smart indicators that will really help us, I mean, to contribute, I mean, to the results. We know that in the southern region, I mean, there is a gap because the person that it was sitting, I mean, to the quality reviews, I mean, she has been on sick leave for a long period, and I think, I'm not sure now, I'm not sure that she's back to the office now, but I think that this is one of the priorities that we can ensure with this knowledge hub that I mentioned. I mean, they can contribute as well, for example, to the revision of acts and documents, I mean, in the future. So for example, the southern region or even the enlargement regions could be prioritized, I mean, in the future, because for the East, we have this technical assistance that is already in place. I mean, this regional program that they are supporting, I mean, the design of the acts and documents. So maybe this could be prioritized, I mean, in the future. Regarding, I mean, the monitoring of the clips, I mean, there's no template. I mean, INPA has not provided, I mean, such template for the moment, but you had to think that the clip, I mean, is a live document that needs to be revised in 2023. So it means that you will have to do like a similar exercise that you had done already. I mean, consultations again with civil society, national authorities, member states, just to see if the priorities, because depends on the context, not depends on the country. I mean, if the priorities will still the same or not. So this document, the clip itself, it will be, I mean, renew in 2023. And the monitoring, I mean, if you look at the clip, I mean, all that is about the clip, it's the targets and the indicators that they are included in the gender action plan. So in a sense, every year, like we had done now in 2021, when we say, I mean, the number of actions that they are contributing to gender equality to being G1 or G2, those that information is going to be monitored every year, because that is going to be on an annual basis. Also regarding, for example, the policy dialogues, we have this target that at least one policy dialogue needs to happen at country level that will be targeting, I mean, gender equality. And you mentioned that, for example, on the clips, I mean, your G2 actions. So the clip, in a sense, is already monitored through the Gender Action Plan 3. And then for the thematics that we will have a midterm evaluation in 2023, we started already, I mean, with the process of, you know, hiring, I mean, the consultancy firm that they will be in charge of this evaluation, of the midterm evaluation. So in a sense, I'm not sure if INPA will provide, I mean, this template for the future, but in a sense, we are monitoring, I mean, the clip, I mean, under the framework of the Gender Action Plan 3. And as I mentioned, we will have to revise it in 2023. And just lastly, I mean, to finalize, I mean, I completely agree. I mean, Kela raised the issue. I mean, and as I mentioned before, ensuring the quality of gender mainstreaming, I mean, this is key. We see that the number of actions, specifically G1 actions, has increased, but we really need to ensure that the actions, they are really a G1 action, no? And the ideal is to have like a gender specific objective and really bring on board, I mean, all, because gender equality, I mean, is not a responsibility only for the gender focal point, it should be for all of the team. And as Kela raised, sometimes they are you know, classes that the people, maybe the colleagues, they say you had to cut here, you know, because you cannot be very, you cannot put a lot of information or gender. So we really need to try to find a balance, but ensure that we had a good quality a good quality in the AdSense of G1. And also, as Kela mentioned, I mean, the need to increase more awareness, and this is going to be done. We have this new target, I mean, of under the Gender Action Plan 3, that the managers needs to be trained on gender equality, and INPA and the EAS, they are working on the design of this training program that all the managers needs to be trained on this, and this they are working now. So I hope that maybe for next year they will roll up, or even before than that, they will this training will be in place. So the managers will be also aware of the need to really include, I mean, gender. So if you have any other specific, I mean, question before we close, or you can always drop the I mean, drop us an email. But I thank you very much, I mean, for your continuous as well support. I mean, because my role is, I mean, relies on your support, on your continuous support, on continuous inputs, and that's really, it facilitates my work, no? So thank you.
Thanks a lot, Olga. I don't see any raised hands. So let me just finish by thank you from my side as well, and also for your patience in this extended session. But I think it was worth allowing colleagues from delegations to take the floor and hearing all the different experiences. Thank you to Olga and Lina once again for this session. And we will reconvene with the NEAR Day this afternoon at 2 o'clock for the session on speaking of and to diverse audiences, which will be concluded with concluding remarks by our acting director, Mathieu Bousquet, from 3:30 to 3:45. So do tune in, even if you do not follow the full panel from 2 to 3:30, it would be useful to tune in at 3:30 to 3:45 for Mathieu's remarks. Thank you very much, everyone. And for those of you for whom it's lunchtime, bon appétit.
Thank you, Colette.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, bye.